everyone, and welcome back to LCS Academy. Getting ready for our second series of the day. The first one, a lot of fun. We got to see just how strong Team Liquid is. I know we were all just talking about it, but now we actually got to see it. But then heading into our next match is going to be CLG up against Immortals. Azrex, this should be a lot of fun in its own rights.
Oh, this is going to be a lot of fun because these rosters aren't exactly as together as they should be for the current state of this. So it is going to be a wild ride, just as we had with Choose earlier in Golden Guardians.
Yeah, we got a lot of substitutes coming in across the board, right? This roster is not fully intact, but we can talk a little bit about how they will be kind of expecting to play, right? We know who all of these players are. We know they're very good, but the question is always going to be, are they going to work together in a way that's going to actually get them wins?
Yeah, well, let's break that down a little bit more. We are going to be starting with CLG's roster. So take us through, Josie, a couple of these some differences that we're going to be seeing here within this roster.
Yeah, so as you see on your screen, Jenkins is in, right? Doklo is promoted to LCS, and Jenkins is now coming right back on down to Academy. I'm happy to cast him again, but a little bit sad that he's not continuing to play in LCS. However, Rosethorn and Luger are not the players that they're going to be playing with throughout most of Academy. Instead, they're waiting for Kevy coming in from Oceania, and Meech is going to be currently replaced by Luger. And so once those players go right on back to their original spots, we will get to see the entirety of the CLG roster. But we have to say, when you have Luger playing on your team, that's got to be an upgrade over almost everybody that we currently have in the Academy scene.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see how the team's going to perform with the substitutes. And one of the substitutes we're looking further into as well is Rosethorn. We do have a little bit of footage as well to what we could maybe expect going into today. And Deserx, I'd love it if you could break that down a little bit more for us.
So Rosethorn, he has been on this roster before. He was pulled down to CLG Faith. He's always been a pretty good executor on stuff like J4 and Xin Zhao. This match for me feels like a pretty important one for him because being on the CLG Academy roster, he has to show up. He has to have a big performance on his way out to really show everyone that he's still worthy of Academy. And personally, with the performances we've seen last split, I think he definitely is.
We also know that Rosethorn is one of these players that now that he's back on CLG, I'm a little bit surprised that he didn't find another opportunity to continue playing in at least the Academy scene. We know that he was really consistently strong early on in the game. He was always looking for ways to get his mid laner or his top laner ahead, and he's willing to do it on a lot of champions that weren't necessarily quite as popular. He would do it on these ganking junglers like the Jarvan. He would play things like the Rek'Sai in order to make sure that he was as strong as possible by level 3 in order to make sure that his top side was always winning.
Well, we have to see if Rosethorn can step up to the challenge today, going up against Immortals up in their own right. Joshi, break this one down for us a little further.
Yeah, we had a little bit of opportunity to see this roster before, right? This is 4 of the 5 members returning from the previous iteration in spring. The only difference is Concept, who was their top laner last time and is now playing for Golden Guardians, has been replaced by Vital, a solo queue player who a lot of people haven't necessarily seen quite a bit. He's one of these people that, if you haven't seen him, don't worry about it. You're going to get to know him. We're going to get to know him. He was brought up, and we expect that a lot of people are going to be putting work into him. So there's a big question mark. How is he going to perform with the rest of the relatively veteran roster they put together, who has at least had a full split to play as a roster?
Really, this is like one of the first times I've been using op.gg to research my players instead of any other form of a statistic. It's a wild one for me because he comes, the last time we saw him was from Glacial Esports and Risen in 2021, then just kind of disappeared as a solo queue player. The best we can really get from him is he's a very Fiora and GP heavy player.
Okay, and then looking at the roster as well, the fact that we talked about Rosethorn and Rosethorn needing to step up in this game today, that is going to be matched with the counterpart here in Chad. Of course, jungler here for Immortals. We do have a little bit of footage on that as well. Deserx, if you want to take us through this.
I mean, it's Chad. He's had some great synergy alongside Purdy, and this jungle mid duo has been phenomenal, especially in the last split. You know, it's not the highest placement, but it's performance that we've been seeing from these two. As I said, great synergy with Purdy. He's got a Lee Sin pocket pick. He's typically gone the Viego and has performed nonetheless. You know, sometimes he falls victim to a little bit of the over invades, but the team plays around him pretty well, and I think he's going to be all right for the current meta in this durability patch.
And we definitely had a bit of a meme, right, about Chad. Last time around, we were talking about Rosethorn, how he always liked to get his top side going. With Chad, the meme was, well, is he going to gank after 3 camps, 4 camps, or 6 camps? Because the answer is always one of them. He is going to gank you at some point early on in the game. And with both junglers really kind of lining up as these really aggressive early playstyles, it's going to be interesting to see because they're not only very similar in that regard to their gameplay, but they're also in very similar positions in their career. They were both solo queue players not that long ago who were brought up and brought into the amateur and academy ecosystem. They're both, or Rosethorn was playing in academy as recently as last split, and they both want to make sure that they can continue performing in order to try and make sure that they find their way to the next level.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked a little bit about Rosethorn's history and what we can expect in this, but then looking over to Chad as well, Joshi, I know that there is a little bit more to the past here with Chad, specifically concerning Arrow. I'd love if you could break that down for people at home that might not be aware.
Yeah, if you haven't been watching from spring, Chad and Arrow, we had this big discussion throughout the regular season. Who are you supposed to play to on this team? Is it Chad, the jungler, the relatively rookie player, or is it Arrow, the incredible veteran who has had a lot of years under his belt? And the answer was kind of disparate, right? We saw that Wild Turtle came in and played with the Immortals Academy roster for a little while, and Chad and Wild Turtle were both on record saying that they felt like they played better as a pair than Chad and Arrow did. And so now that we are going back to a new style of gameplay where AD carries are even more important, we were looking at Chad as being a bit more of a centerpiece for the team, and now the pendulum might swing right on back, and Chad might need to find himself a little bit more subservient to Arrow, who we know has been a strong performer throughout his academy career.
Yeah, I love too that as we dive deeper into Academy, that there's a lot more than just meets the eye here in terms of these players and the stories that go beyond them as well. And then Deserex, I know concerning the uplaners here for CLG, it's one of those things as well that there is a little bit more considering this switch up between Jenkins and Dokla.
Yeah, it's so interesting because this has been going on for quite some time now. We saw it happen last year on a different team. They were on Team Liquid Academy together and just swapping over who's on the main roster due to Alfari having some visa issues. Now it's pretty much a lot of the same thing, bringing Jenkins and Dokla together as a unit. Now, with Jenkins and his performance over in the spring split, I was a little bit disappointed that we never got to see that big Kennen pop off because we always know how prominent he is in that character on that champion. Just to put some context, last year he was completely undefeated on Kennen within 10 games of playing it, so it's one of his powerhouse picks. That's not to underhype him, though. He's still very, very prominent at other champions. You know, last split he had a lot of success on Camille. One thing that pops out to me was the play where he outplayed Finn on Akali. He's good at a multitude of champions. He's got a lot of experience on him.
Yeah. And we have to remember that Jenkins has not been like the super dominant laner like Dokla is, right? They play very differently. What Jenkins has always done is he was pretty okay at laning, right? He would survive it, and then he would get into the mid game where he was a master at manufacturing good team fights on the Kennen, on the Aatrox, on the Camille, making sure that he could find the right angles later on when paired up with Armeo. But now it's a very different story, right? And I feel like even, you touched on it when they were playing previously with Team Liquid and, the main roster, but they did the same thing during the Proving Grounds run in summer last year. When Jenkins and Armeo went to Worlds in order to boot camp with the rest of the team, it was Dokla who came in to fill out the spot along with Inori, who ended up going into the Proving Grounds finals, right? So it's, again, another situation where these two players are constantly competing for spots, and Dokla improved a lot in spring, and now CLG thinks that it's a better opportunity for them to play with Dokla than for Jenkins, and Jenkins needs to prove them wrong.
Well, now that we have a little bit of the history, what are we expecting then going into this matchup? We already know a couple of the players that we're looking to see if they can step up to the plate. But overall, with these two teams, Deserex, where do you think this is headed?
This is a tough one again, because you did this to me with Golden Guardians and Choose, and when we have these cannibalized rosters, it's really hard to put a definitive take on who I think is going to take it. But I'm going to play with my heart a little bit. I love old man Bob Jenkins, so I do have a little bit of faith, not off of anything analytical towards CLG.
Okay, I'll stop putting you on the spot then. Maybe that's something after the game we can talk about who's stepped up. But it is time for the champ select. Time to head into the game, see what these two teams have to offer with CLG and Immortals. I'll catch up with you two later.
All right, so our second series of the day, Josh. We've
Second
already
series.
begun our
Let's
first
go.
day. We're halfway through it now. We got CLG Academy and Immortals Academy.
Yeah, we got another Oceanic coach as well coming through. Juves, pretty bad Valorant player, but at least a little better than me, is going to have an opportunity to lead CLG through this whole thing. And I gotta agree with you, Eric. I think that CLG are definitely going into this favored, but maybe not as favored as Team Liquid were over Golden Guardians from what we were saying. Just coming in and playing with just a ton of just raw talent, feel as though they are going to be in a really good spot as they go into their first couple of games, because Luger is super good, you guys. Like, we knew that he was good last year when we saw him playing in Academy. He looked really good when he actually made it to LCS. He's going to continue looking really strong going up against Arrow and Joey. And as long as Rosethorn and Jenkins can kind of mesh their playstyles a little bit, where Jenkins isn't nearly as active early on in the game as Rosethorn is, they're going to be able to have a lot of success with the way that they're looking to play.
Luger speed ran the Academy system and just... with just 100 Thieves Academy done, and now moving on up, Luger, great substitute to have for CLG into this game against Immortals. The first pick for CLG, Jenkins, going to grab the Gwen, and again, it is something that you can flex around between Rosethorn and Jenkins, so nothing too much given yet on this B1.
Yeah, Rosethorn is not the kind of player who is as likely to be playing this Gwen in the competitive scene, right? It doesn't have enough crowd control, as he often likes to go for early in the game. But the Wukong and the Gwen, again, very stable picks in the way that they like to play. As I feel like we're getting a bit of jitter. It feels like there's an earthquake almost going on the screen. But it is an opportunity right now for Vital to kind of show what he's going to be doing. I know you were looking at it previously where he was playing the Fiora and the Gangplank, but those have taken off the table. And I haven't necessarily been finding other champions and like, yes, this is a Vital champion. Maybe it's the Wukong, but that could also be going over to Joey.
It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell with this limited information and just how scouting went through for Vital. That's something I'm very curious to hear about in the future. As CLG are going to lock in their bot lane. Going to have the Ezreal, going to have the Karma. So lots of strong picks that we're seeing. A lot of the same picks that we're seeing through these drafts so far, as comfort has been found by a lot of Academy players.
Yeah, the Senna coming through was banned both times by Team Liquid last time, but the Kog'Maw not going to get picked up by either side. And Yone, a champion that has had a lot more success over the past couple of patches on 12-10 and expected to have more on 12-11 as well. He's been played in the mid lane, he's been played in the top lane, and I've heard very slight rumors from a very specific Elton Mock that he's even playable in the jungle, though I don't necessarily subscribe to that myself. There's a lot of physical damage already coming out from Immortals. They have a lot of control over when these fights actually start, so it's going to be on CLG making sure that they can deny it as much as possible between Ezreal and Gwen.
Yeah, it's nasty teamfight potential on top of that. I always look at the ultimates that's coming out from Immortals on the Wukong and the Yone. There is some flexibility for CLG on how they want to play this. It's the Gwen and Ezreal, you do get a lot of mobility with that, but it's so amplified by the Karma itself. And having that Karma over in the bot lane does amplify quite a bit of base damage if you do want to be more aggressive, but it can flex around. You can put that in the mid lane as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not quite as good in the solo lanes as it used to be, but it is still very playable, and I love the Seraphine ban, right? Pretty is well known. Okay, Pretty is going to be one of these players that we're going to have to pay a lot of attention to throughout the summer split, because when you're in a situation like this where the lanes tend to not be as impactful as the team fights are going to be later on, Pretty is going to thrive. He is so good at making sure that he picks the right champion in order to stuff everything that his opponents are going to be doing, and Seraphine would play so well with this composition, keeping all of these AD bruisers alive, pairing it with the Senna so you have a ton of shields and healing to play with all the time, and just taking it off the table means that Pretty is going to have to find something else, but he was also the guy who was known for playing things like Ivern mid, so don't be surprised if he pulls out something that nobody else was really expecting.
So the Tom Kench is going to be the final ban for CLG. Counterpick will go over to Immortals. We've been seeing a lot of hovers towards this Bard as of recently. Only hovering it for now in Immortals. CLG will have their selection towards the solo lanes as well as the jungle potentially, but Immortals back onto another hover, onto the Cho'Gath. See what's going to go happen.
Definitely like the Cho'Gath better than the Bard, but the biggest thing that they need to try and find is things that are going to be very stable for them. They are going to be picking up the Jin, so now they have a lot of damage. They know that the Senna is going to be playing a fasting role alongside the Jin, and it does mean that you are going to need to find some sorts of magic damage if CLG is going to pick a single tank, right? Everything here is going to be doing physical damage, and so it creates a big opportunity for CLG to potentially threaten to just like drop a Malphite or even like a Rammus or something at this point. But instead, Rosethorn going back to, ye old faithful, going to be grabbing the Jarvan in order to make sure he can get some early ganks off.
Yeah, it's the champion he's played the most over in the Spring Split as well as Proving Grounds. It's very, very comfortable on that Jarvan, and does give, Jarvan itself as a champion, you get the access to early ganks with the Flag and Drag. All you need is level 2 to get that to happen. And of course, the Cataclysm to hold people down in a lot of those team fights. Now CLG are hovering for the last pick, locking in Ahri. Going to come in for CLG. Immortals, counter pick to come up.
Yep. I mean, they just got to find something. They can choose whether this Wukong is going to Vital or to Chad, and then they just need to find whatever counter pick they choose to go for, right? You know that Gwen's going up into the top lane. It's a pretty even matchup between Gwen and Wukong. But the Jarvan, there's lots of things that can play around it. You know what it is that Jarvan wants to try and do, and oh my gosh, I think we're going to get Yone top lane.
All right. LeBlanc was left open, so we are getting the Yone top lane. Wukong will be in the jungle, and LeBlanc in the mid lane. Much more obvious on the side of CLG, but Immortals, we're rolling around a little bit with those flexible lanes.
Yeah, and I feel like the CLG roster is very standard in a lot of ways. It looks a lot like something we would have seen in spring, right? You have the Ahri going into the mid lane, as was one of Triple's favorite characters the entire time. He had so many games on this, despite the fact that he didn't even play the entire season, that I think he had more Ahri games than almost everybody else. And now, as we get to see it come through, it is still the LeBlanc counter pick that we are seeing pretty go for. He's looking to challenge in the lane. He's looking to be more aggressive. That's not what I was expecting coming out from our Greek mid laner. He's typically much more of a supportive style. He wants to stop things from happening a lot of the time and make sure the rest of his team is strong. And I guess one way you can do that is just win your lane.
Okay. I want to sidetrack this a little bit, Josh,
Okay.
just a little bit. I want to bring us back to the coffee talk we were having earlier, because this is the one bit of information I've been saving for so long and haven't been able to use for Triple. And that's when he orders the drink, he gets 4 shots of espresso and 5 pumps of white mocha. So I'm happy to finally say that. I was going to say that with Cubby a very long time ago, but that is his preferred beverage. And hopefully he's got that down right now, get all that caffeine going into the system. And that's a lot to take in, Josh.
Dude. That's more caffeine than Magical goes for. 4 pumps espresso? Whoa, yeah. Okay. That's a lot. All right, we'll see if he is hyped up in this game as we normally see him go for. It is absolutely crazy, the kind of things that we have seen him do on this Ahri in the past. And he's got a lot kind of riding on him because he is going to be one of the main people that actually get things started. He has some pick potential, and he can choose one of the individual members to just kind of take down relatively early on. Otherwise, you're going to be very reliant on Rosethorn's Jarvan to get things started. But Rosethorn is coming in as a sub. We'll see what kind of pressure he's able to put on the game and whether or not he's going to take the same kind of control as before, especially when he's got a mid laner who's just jacked up on caffeine. Feels like Talladega.
I'm a little bit worried about the early states. If you do get some authority coming out from Immortals towards the mid side, we talked about what the capability of the mid jungle duo can do from Immortals. If they are able to open out in the mid game, then they have some potential to actually take this, because LeBlanc and Wukong roaming around your map is hard to deal with, especially when they start setting up dives and going for those mid game team fights where it's hard to catch them. LeBlanc and Wukong can both go invisible to the one to sneak into the fight, one to get out of a potentially bad fight, but that is a lot you have to track into one fight. That is a lane that you don't want to pop off if you're CLG.
True. I mean, where's the Shaco at this point? We can get even more clones in here, but it is definitely a situation where it feels like both of them have mid-jungle duos that can take over. What was that? Did you say Twitch?
Yeah, I said Twitch because I thought we were going for invisible, and then you said clones, and you just kind of broke my ankles on that one.
Not quite. You got to get the twins. You got to get. That's how you get good studies going. Is if you have two of the exact same person.
Yeah.
I got a little dark. We're going back into the game. Anyway, I'm really excited to see what the Senna is actually going to be able to accomplish. I've been looking for a long time for people to start actually recognizing that Locket Senna is the truth. You just rush that item, you go airy, and suddenly you give your team 2,500 shields and heals over the course of every single team fight. It's pretty absolutely bonkers. But we'll see whether or not they're going to be doing that. It's probably going to be an Umbral Glaive.
It'll be a matter of time, and we won't have to wait too long because the game is loaded up and ready. CLG Academy versus Immortals Academy. Now, CLG, when we talked about last split for them, of course, it's not the same roster, but you still have components of it. They were a team that did well in the regular season. The fall-off for them was around playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, they ended up getting 4th during Proving Grounds. Or, excuse me, CLG got 7th Proving Grounds. As we got a fight.
A 5v5 at level 1. No way! Out comes the clone, so Pretty is going to be okay. We're already seeing one of those clones be used up. Arrow takes a chunk in the back, but no one is going to go down today.
I wonder if Joey got any souls, because that was pretty funny, right? You don't normally see Jarvan go to initiate a fight at level 1 because he's only got his E. He throws a flag, he's like, yeah, go! I choose you! Here's some attack speed. But at the end of it, it's mostly just the supports getting their stacks, and maybe Joey got like a soul or two during the whole thing, because nobody blew any summoner spells. It was just trading damage back and forth.
There's no one that really has that like hard crowd control that's going to make a level 1 really viable. Like the classic one is Blitzcrank, but more common ones would be something like Braum that you can invade into.
True.
Not the case here, so not big crowd control to be had for that 5v5.
Okay,
but this
Chad.
invade coming out of Chad.
Okay, Chad.
He's about to use the blast plan into 2.
Where is he?
Where is he? Oh
no!
That was so mean, Chad. Why do you gotta do Rosethorn like that? Gets the steal over the wall, makes it look easy.
That is brutal to be doing to a substitute as well. He's going to be taking yet another camp from him. Rosethorn is going to be pretty miserable early on in this game because he only got his E. He's Jarvan. He can't take these fights at all. At least he gets the Wolf, so he gets level 2. But Chad is just putting this substitute so far in the dirt, and we know he likes going for these level 1 cheeses.
One of the criticisms was his over-invading that he had. Well, yeah, sometimes it works out really, really well, as you saw right there, where it's very, very cheeky. Now a fight in the bottom lane as Luger, Joey, Arrow, Breezy, they're all really skirmishing it out here in the bottom. Just at level 1, now the level 2 is going to be popped. You're going to get a root onto Breezy, but there is no vision for him. Luger just chasing away the bot lane of Immortals.
Oh, okay. And Rosethorn is so delayed in his pathing, right? He's effectively camps behind, but Arrow still trying to find something a little bit more aggressive. I am fascinated in this bottom lane, right? I was expecting there to be a relatively calm early game because Luger tends to just play relatively safe lanes a lot of the time, but now he's just going for it.
For Breezy, yet to put out that chain. Not sure if he really has it. No, grab the shield and the Q. Luger goes forward. A flash can be burnt out of Arrow from the aggression of Breezy and Luger.
Crazy stuff coming through, and look who's here. It's Rosethorn. Chad's coming down. They're both skipping a bunch of camps in order to try and make sure that they can tip this bottom lane in their favor, but Chad also gets the Scuttle Crab. It feels like Rosethorn is just miles behind at this point, but at least Triple's on his way.
Rosethorn's struggling to keep up with Chad. Even a Triple over on the side lines, you still have Pretty, who's watching vigilantly as well, so a rough start for Rosethorn. Chad's just been outpacing him, constantly tracking him, stealing away his camps. Might even get a double scuttle on top of this as poor Rosethorn just clearing out his last camp before he takes his recall.
Yeah. Well, that's going to be pretty sad. I mean, he hasn't even done his Raptors. He's still pretty far behind in terms of gold and experience, and that's not going to necessarily get better because Chad is just going to have all the timers. He can come right on back and do the camps once again after he finishes his own. So, Rosethorn going to have to try and find something. We said he was a substitute coming through. We said that he's still trying to fight for his spot right on back. We said he was going to go for some early game plays, but so far, none of that is really doing a whole lot of favors for Rosethorn. He just gets invaded, and neither he nor Jenkins was ready to deal with it.
There is a little bit of silver lining. If you fall behind early on J4, it's not the most detrimental thing. You know, it does make you really, really squishy for a lot of these engages. But you still have your kit. You still have your crowd control. That's what Rosethorn's going to try and utilize is Pretty. Pushing up very deep into triple, but the minion wave is too big here. Hard to make the play as Breezy gets caught out, gets rooted. More harassment coming out as, I don't know, one of the things we've been seeing a lot is just how much early game fighting a lot of these lanes are willing to do.
Yeah. We also got to check in with how Vital's doing, right? Because he's the solo queue player that none of us were necessarily expecting to come in and make huge waves, but he's currently taking Jenkins in a pretty even matchup so far, and he's doing quite well. Now, we said Jenkins wasn't the best, most aggressive laner in the world, but still, Vital going up against somebody who was just in LCS and going even, not a bad start.
Not a bad start. Debut for Vital in Academy. Pushing in a very, very storied player in Bob Jenkins when it does come to Academy. So you're starting to see some positioning coming out from Immortals over on this top side. It's a point of contention for them. Same can't be said in the bot side where it's just been punishment after punishment. Luger ruthless with this aggression as he goes on to Joey.
Yeah, Jenkins.
Sprinkle more, leaving away. Ultimate pop, but Flash burnt out of Vital, happy to take that.
Yeah, you gotta be careful when you see Gwen hit level 6, right? Her ultimate is absolutely insane. The slow, the extra HP she gets, the damage that she can put out all at once is pretty nuts. And as we kind of see this game going in a relatively even mode, it almost makes me forget that, like, yeah, most games aren't stompy like the ones we just saw coming out from Team Liquid. We actually get to take a look and see what the different styles of these two teams are actually going to be. And so far, it's just brawling. So much brawling.
This bot lane, man, they are scrapping. Joey falls low. I'm waiting for the attention of just one jungler to head down there. Rosethorn is already in position, but with Chad having eyeballs on him, wouldn't it be the wisest thing to go ahead and go for that dive over there? Instead, just going to take the recalls and resets over in the bottom lane. However, Pretty has been trying this time and time again. Anytime he sees the charm go on cooldown, he just jumps right on the triple.
Yeah, let's our first jungler to try and do something, but Chad is right in the wings. Is Air going to go down?
There's the root flag and Dragon First Blood picked up by CLG.
Yeah, good stuff coming out from Rosethorn, trying to turn around some of the deficit that he had, and he's going to be getting them First Blood goes over to Breezy. But at the same time, it doesn't feel like a huge advantage is necessarily coming out for CLG from that alone. It just feels like Luger and Breezy were doing a good job, like pushing around the lane, and slowly, we are seeing Jenkins get a small lead. And as we wait for these teams to start building up opportunities to really go for these big fights, we'll take a look at a replay, and it's pretty clinical, right? You just land the flag and drag. There's no flash on the Jhin. It just means that you can take him down very, very quickly. And Chad can't do anything because he's a little bit too slow to punch.
And they had bumped up in the river earlier. Watching Rosethorn go Dragon Pit bound. A little bit of a juke out as Rosethorn went around the turret more than now Breezy roaming out from his lane. Heading over here where Triple has had a little bit of trouble dealing with Pretty, who's been so aggressive into this mid lane. All that being said, though, Triple is keeping up with CS, no problem.
Yeah. We know this can be a tough matchup. If both of them play it really, really well, it should be LeBlanc favored, right? Because she just plays with the range of the chain. But can also be very good for Ahri if you land a couple of these charms whenever Pretty goes in. But as we see that, just dodging out from it almost every single time. Pretty is trading a lot of his mana, and it means that Triple doesn't have the HP to necessarily stick around. And so the fact that Pretty is beating up Triple on Triple's favorite champion is a really good sign. We said it's going to be a good meta for Prodromos Kivizetitis. There we go. There we go. We figured it out. And he's going to have a fantastic time trying to push things around and take control of this mid game.
Vital spotting out the Rift Herald being taken. CLG's response after seeing that pressure applied into the mid lane, you do get a reset off of it, so CLG goes straight for the Rift Herald. Rosethorn picking that up. Question is, where does he place it, Josh? You've got to get an influx of gold for CLG. Where do you cash in those plates?
I feel like it's either top or mid, right? You really want to get Jenkins far ahead so you can be good in the actual upcoming fight, or you can also do it for Triple. Make sure that he's not falling too far behind. Vital has to ult his way on out. The just giving a lot of gold over to the mid. Oh, darn. Giving a lot of gold over to Triple right now could be really impactful because we're starting to come up into the parts of the game where Triple was really well known for being able to find picks during the mid game.
See this setup coming out from both junglers, a 2v2 in the top side. Engage, coming out from Vital, goes after Jenkins. Keep in mind, he doesn't have his ultimate, Chad does. It's a very tough fight to take, so just going to clear the wave back out. Make this a truce on the 2v2.
Yeah. It's a very different style of jungling from what we saw between Armeo and Acadian, right? Both Chad and Rosethorn said we're going to be going for things early on in the game, but so far neither of them have really done a whole lot, right? Rosethorn was participating in the one kill that we've seen in the bottom lane, but other than that, he's just trying to recover as much farm as he can. And Chad, I've never known him as a power farmer, but he's definitely doing that right now, trying to make sure that he stays ahead of Rosethorn and cements his advantage. But even now that he's level 7, he hasn't gone for any ganks that have actually worked out on this Wukong. So I feel like both of these junglers are rapidly approaching the spot where they're handing the game over to the laners as we start looking at how they're going to potentially team fight.
I mean, Chad's struggling to find a spot to gank. You look in the top side and just see how well Jenkins has been doing against Vital, forcing out his ultimate just to escape. In the mid lane, Pretty has been schooling Triple, as you said, on his favorite champion. There's not many points of contention that Chad can really play to. Even in the bot lane, you got an arcane shift on Luger. That is hard to still close on and get a kill.
Yep. Okay. A little bit of a... I wouldn't say a skirmish, but not a whole lot. The only thing that I feel like we're really seeing is just the fact that Pretty is winning this lane, Jenkins is winning his lane, and the bottom lane is going slightly in favor of CLG. And so when that all comes together, we are going to have to pay attention to how they actually play later on, as Joey is going to be scaling up. He's going to be getting all that extra range as the game goes on. And, Pretty jumps in to the
That's what I'm talking about.
adoration of all his fans. Did you know that all of his fans and family in Greece, they're probably still up like right now watching his game?
I fully believe it. Parents
Yeah.
to esports children, a lot of them are dedicated. One of the ones I talk about a little bit is my bud over from Winthrop University over in Sealol. His mom watches it religiously. Will stay up for any game whatsoever. We've been seeing it more on social medias where parents have been more active to support their kids in esports.
Yeah, Mama Mabud, Golden Glue's mom, Julie Gilmer. You know, she tags me on Twitter every single time I say, I'm ever on their games. Now, Prodromos has a big family over in Greece as well, who's always excited to tune into his games, make sure that they are cheering him on, because he's making a... another ult out. Vital is really starting to falling behind, but just so much support coming out for Pretty all the way across the way.
An easy Cataclysm instantly burns it away, but the knockup from Vital counters Rosethorn. Rosethorn will escape the tower in time before the death blow comes in, and Jenkins will put down Vital.
Yeah, and that's going to be the entire turret going down. Remember how we were saying that Rift Herald potentially going either towards the top or mid in order to try and make sure that you can get Jenkins really strong for the upcoming plays? Giving him the first turret blood as well as so many plates just means that they're going to be absolutely massive, probably as the Rift make completed when they actually go back to base. And that just means that the upcoming fights around the next Rift Herald, around the the third dragon, are going to be ones that Jenkins has a ton of control over. A charm comes in. It does land onto Pretty, but Triple so low from that combo of Pretty. And this is going to result in Chad just pushing up because he has no regard for the mid lane of CLG, who is just taken aback. Jenkins is now trying to match that, but Pretty is low here and taking a recall. Yep. Okay, so we have a very lopsided map at this point, right? You have Pretty going to be the one person on IMT who has a lot of strength, right? Because Arrow and Joey, they're not currently in a super strong position. Vital is unfortunately slowly starting to get buried as Jenkins takes control. He doesn't even need to go top lane. He can start taking away some of these camps from Chad, who was one of the stronger members for IMT. But now it feels like they're just slowly going to be giving up more and more space as the side lanes of CLG takes over. 5 seconds left. One more plate cashed in before they go away. Actually, Curtain Call opened up right now. Here comes the ultimate, looking to try and chase away any more potential threat onto this, but that's a rough position to be in. You're curtain calling just to try and push away CLG. Yeah, I mean, you're trying to just push away Luger, right? You got to make sure that he's not going to be, oh my gosh, doing this kind of thing. Goodness, Luger!
Joey's so low. Breezy's able to get the kill off of that one. Thanks to that ignite, and Luger sees more, but he realizes there is a teleport coming. Vital has arrived. Going after Luger, tries to get him at the edge of the ultimate, but Luger a shift away, a flash away. He is alive, he is safe, and Rosethorn, just to make sure the deal was sealed, Luger with the recall.
Absolutely crazy stuff coming through. The fact that Luger finds that kill, or it goes over to Breezy, but then also survives the teleport coming through from Vital is a huge win coming out from the side of CLG. It sounds like we have a replay as well coming through, but it's going to be a big opportunity for CLG. And if Triple starts winning some of these charm fights, they're going to be in a much better spot as well.
So taking a look
replay, yes, no?
at what had just happened a little bit earlier, we're going to get that replay. Actually, go hold that thought, because a gank onto Triple, you are going to get the root on him, but the Spirit Rush was burnt to try and get him out of there. That's an ultimate down, but Flash still available for Triple.
That's rough, right? Triple without his ultimate suddenly doesn't have anywhere near as much control over the fights, but Luger doesn't seem to care whatsoever about that. Remember that conversation we were having about like when you actually spike, about the last game, when there was a huge opportunity in the mid game for another team? Now it's CLG doing the same thing.
Rosethorn is able to find Arrow. And a simple solo kill against the Jhin, Rosethorn will get in the jungle of Immortals and start to walk out, as collecting as a unit 4 strong is CLG starting up the Rift Herald.
And now Vital, going to be in an awkward spot. He doesn't have his ultimate, doesn't have his flash, and just feels as though CLG are just slowly winning, but it's not necessarily through, like, the coordinated team plays that Team Liquid were doing in the same kind of way, right? It is just a whole lot of small individual plays. Rosethorn finding a solo kill, he goes bottom lane, he finds a kill there, he finds a kill top lane as well, and Rosethorn, despite being put in a really awkward spot to start off the game when Chad takes his jungle, he's doing fine, right? He's down about as much CS as you might expect this character to normally be. He's found almost 100% kill participation. The only thing that he wasn't there for was a 2v2 kill that we saw Luger and Breezy go for. And Rosethorn, despite the fact that, you know, this game was a little bit awkward, he is so far the main character of our story.
Yeah, that early start where he got pushed behind doesn't really matter when J4's kit works that way. Vital with some harassment on the Jenkins, but yeah, Rosethorn, he came back strong. You know, we've seen how hair trigger a lot of his ultimates are when he drops that Cataclysm, and how quickly CLG are able to follow up. Now CLG are starting to posture up around this Dragon area. You still have Triple, who has been rotated up towards the top lane. Pretty will meet him, but with so much control on the bottom side coming out of CLG, Dragon should be easy takings as they grab a turret.
So let's take a moment to once again wax philosophical about Jenkins. You know, one of the favorite players that we both had, one of the players that we got to cast a lot when we were doing Team Liquid stuff, and a crazy funny trash talker as well. But again, he was never the best lane. He was never the kind of player who was going to win the game off the lanes. But his ability to take over fights in the mid game was absolutely spectacular. And it meant that his stats at the end of every season were second to none in terms of his damage per minute, his gold per minute, his ability to just have crazy KDAs. And he is now on Gwen. He's almost got 2 completed items. We have a dragon fight coming through. This is when we expect him to step up and see if he's still the Jenkins of old that we know about.
We'll be watching right now what Jenkins can do in this next fight, because Immortals do want to challenge it. 5 units each. Both members are going to stand trying to contest this. Drake is Immortals. 3k remains. Chad's getting closer. He does have the stealth to come in. Comes the monkey business, looking to pop the Cyclone, gets the knock, going for the steal. Chad's able to get it. Pops the Cyclone again, flashes out. Chad's able to get away, and suddenly CLG end up empty-handed. They've got nothing. Pretty waiting under the wall, goes after Triple! Immortals will pick up 1 with a dragon still on top of it.
What a crazy fight. Rosethorn left the pit. He just gave that over to Chad for free. That was absolutely crazy seeing Chad just walk in and Triple going down at the very end. It feels like CLG were ready for a fight, but Immortals were just like, nah. I'm going to throw up my, my Mankey. He's going to get that dragon, and we're going to be good. We're going to be 1 dragon away from the Hextech Soul.
We got to take another look at that one, because that right there, a hell of a performance come out of Immortals, where it looked like they were dead to rights. A few members were, especially Chad on the back end of that, but they get out, Josh.
Yeah, it feels like what we saw from Team Liquid all over again. But look at what Rosethorn does, right? He's trying to prevent Chad from doing anything, but Chad just goes in, and he's the only jungler in the pit with a smite available. What? You can't do that. You gotta make sure that you are staying in the pit. If you're gonna try and pick him up, you gotta be more on point than that. Chad didn't even have to flash to get in.
A little bit of a hiccup there, and one coming out from Jenkins as he gets caught out in the 2v2, tries to go after Chad, but Chad brings too much damage because he's brought too many friends. Jenkins falls.
Too many friends. That's going to be one. The True Shot Barrage, not quite going to catch anything, but a small advantage once again going over Chad. He was not finding a big lead before, but suddenly he's got another kill. He's up about 30 CS, and while his team is going to be giving up this inner turret, they can potentially start looking for things if CLG aren't going to be just trying to force fights.
See, there it is, that Rosethorn hair trigger. Sees Joey throw out that binding, goes right after him with the flag and drag. Doesn't throw that on the Cataclysm as it's just for threat at the moment, doesn't know what's nearby. See flag and drags over the wall. And that is the position of power for CLG as they take that mid lane tower, but it's going to be a response from Immortals. The split push coming out of Vital. It's a good amount of CS coming for himself as well as a tower into his pocket.
That's going to be helpful for Vital, right? This Yone has mostly used their ultimates to get out so far this game. And that's not what you really want to be seeing Yone do. But as you start getting towards 2-3 items, you start doing a lot of damage, you can start taking a lot of duels. And I feel like Chad has kind of been very quietly just kind of winning a lot of the skirmishes for Immortals, right? He was the one who just picked up that dragon. He was the one ready to actually pick up the fight around the bottom lane. And both junglers, it feels like they have been the dominant forces in actually trying to get this game going.
Look at CLG go. As they go deep into the jungle of Immortals here. Blue side jungle, plotting wards and getting some very deep vision. You still got 2 minutes before the Infernal Drake comes up. This would stop the Dragon Soul from Immortals. Luger go as he just hops right in. Doesn't even really care about it as Pretty over the wall. He's going to get a binding onto Luger, who's caught out by the curtain call. Fourth bullet comes out, but the sidestep thanks to the arcane shift. Now here comes Rosethorn, the counter engage, but Chad is there to match it. Cyclone goes out. So many low health members, and Chad sees it. He's ready for a fiesta, but can't get close enough because down comes the Cataclysm and a flag and drag to put Chad down. Now Jenkins with this play deep in the members of Immortals. Immortals will take him down. Health bar is not going to fall yet, and Vital with a double knock up to find the ace for Immortals Academy.
A triple kill going over to Vital, the solo queue rookie coming in, but it was Chad who set all of that up, and suddenly a game that was slowly going away from them. Immortals are now in a dominant position. They're going to be picking up this Baron. They're going to be able to get back on the map in time for the Hex Tech Dragon and the Hex Tech Soul. As we take a replay to see this play once again, it's going to be all about Chad, the way that he's able to navigate this fight, the way that he's able to set it up and create the chaos necessary for Immortals to actually win.
CLG, they know the Baron is forfeit, so their attention is over towards his bottom side. You get a teleport coming out from Triple right away. Let's take another look at that fight that was led off of Pretty coming off right through the wall.
Yeah, Pretty did a good job setting things up, right? He puts Luger and Breezy in an awkward position, but once he gets attacked, it is Chad that has an opportunity to go on in. Just taking control of the fight and getting everybody so low. By pushing Jenkins away towards the top side of the fight, he's not able to be frontline for the rest of the team. By the time he actually joins, the guy that we just set up as one of the big team fighters for CLG isn't able to have an impact because Jenkins separated him and made sure the backline was too low to participate.
Oh, that beautiful double knockup. It's Dragon's Soul point currently, and Dragon is up. If anyone's willing to go for it, no, it's going to be a fight coming out from Vital, who goes deep onto Breezy. One eliminated so far as Rosethorn jumps in. Cataclysm drops. Jenkins able to get one, but Immortals are grabbing more. Pretty onto Luger will take down the bot lane of CLG, but it's a double kill coming out for Jenkins, who will return the favor, killing Arrow. That being said, though, now Chad going towards that Drake. Both teams missing 2.
Yeah, 3-on-3. Chad, Pretty, Joey going up against Triple Rosethorn Jenkins, and with no ultimates, I feel like this should be going over towards IMT. Rosethorn can't even get in.
Sees where Rosethorn is. Rosethorn very low now, but so is Pretty, and so is Chad. Jenkins gets 1 kill. Pretty goes on to him, distortion forward, but it's the shutdown as Joey will be the one to slay Jenkins. But without a jungler, you're not going to get that Dragon Soul. Rose Thorn will secure it.
Okay, there's no smite, so they're playing it a little bit more safely than perhaps they need to, but they do get it in the end. That's a big play coming out from the LCS top laner, coming in from CLG. Jenkins able to take down Chad, using the Gwen is immune, making sure that Joey can't do any damage to him. He ends up splitting up the fight well enough to find the kill. So, CLG, they're kind of back in it, but that takes the game from being slightly CLG favored to being very even, and just very even once again. The fact that they are still going to have to fight for every dragon for the rest of the game is a huge deal. At the same time, that's most of the Baron gone from IMT, so I feel like we're right about to go back into a bit of a slower portion of the game.
I mean, 25 minutes in this, we are dead even. No one at a critical point just yet other than the Dragon Soul, but we still got 4 minutes before that's going to be back up. 3 minutes before Baron does spawn. CLG, towards the top side of the map, only going to have triple on the split push. He doesn't have teleport available, so we'd have to walk a very long distance if you want to commit to the split push, and that's why he's roaming up right now, because Immortals looking for an engage, going to bully away CLG.
And they're not necessarily dealing with their side lane super effectively, right? Nobody's going out to deal with the top lane. Jenkins is going to get that pushing, and so that means that he's a bit more free to move on the map. And they're their team with the Baron, right? Now that it has expired, they can't necessarily use that again, but Rose Thorn...
For the knock on Rose Thorn. Vital chasing him away, secures the red buff for himself. Pretty in the top lane, goes after Jenkins. There's more members of Immortals in this area, but look at the mid lane. CLG are starting to collapse onto this team fight. Rose Thorn flag and drag over the wall. And here comes the rest of CLG. Chad's able to join the fight. You have your team fight prowess there for Immortals, and Jenkins is isolated.
Ooh.
Arrow with the curtain call. Secures it now. Chad looking to come over the wall. Realizes it's more than he can fight right now. Doesn't want to use the Cyclone. Immortals with one pick onto Jenkins. Still got a while before any of those neutrals are up.
Yeah, Jenkins is trying to make things happen now that he has got a couple more items, now that he's a little bit stronger, but the rest of the team isn't necessarily moving around him as effectively. You're starting to see that Immortals, you know, the team that has had a little more time to play as a cohesive roster are the ones actually trying to get things done, and Pretty is consistently putting pressure on the members of CLG, and it gives so much more freedom for players like Vital, like Arrow, to continue farming up and slowly becoming the threats that we knew that they could be.
Pretty's been popping off. It's the Pretty show in this game, and he's been that big piece that's kept Immortals into this alongside Chad. Now, looking at the lane states and what's attempted to be set up by Immortals, they are taking the reset right now. If you are looking at them timers, there's a good reason for it. Baron's up in a minute, 32 minutes until you have that Infernal Drake. And that Infernal Drake pickup for Immortals would be Dragon Soul. CLG, be well aware of that. It is an Infernal Dragon Soul on top of that. As they start positioning towards the Dragon area towards the barrier.
That's
just, oh, it is
very
a
clear
Soul.
about that. Yeah.
You're right. I see the
Yeah,
icon.
okay,
It tricked me.
It's a bug. It's a bug. It happens. It happens. You know, play by play, you see something, you're like, yeah, that's just a thing.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Love you, Eric. Monkey see. So what is Chad gonna do?
Engage.
Okay. We'll see if they
That's
can
it.
actually get it off. Triple around the huge flank.
Ooh. Coming out. Here comes Triple. He's going after Joey. Everfrost comes out. Doesn't land it on Joey. Doesn't land the charm on the Joey. That's a big miss right there, as Pretty's going to look to capitalize. Goes after Luger. Goes back over the wall with the distortion. Now opening up the curtain call. Final shot lands on the Breezy. Rose Thorn looking for the counter engage. Triple using up the final resource of Spirit Rush. Still has the charm. Lands it onto Chad. Chad gets pulled back in, forced to use the clone mode, falls to about half health. Here comes the Cataclysm. It's onto Chad, but Chad goes on to Breezy. Now Luger with the chases. Joey's falling low. Jenkins able to clip him down. Chad falls as well with a double kill for Jenkins, and it's gonna be pure cleanup for CLG. One more to grab. Rose Thorn will get it with 3 down. CLG are marching towards the base.
I feel like CLG are just a little bit more decisive when push comes to shove. When you are actually in the fight, CLG are ready to go, and Vital clears the wave. Okay, well, that's good.
One way to
Go do the Baron
It's
instead.
a very stylish way to do it.
Yeah. So I like the fact that Vital is at least keeping his inhibitors alive, but that's a pretty big fight going over to the side of CLG. They should be able to do this and also still have an opportunity to fight for the dragon if they want it, because even if you get this Baron, if you go over the Hextech Soul at the same time, it's not necessarily worth it. You need to make sure you get both.
It's going to be tough. CLG need to make that reset fast to get towards that Dragon Soul position, but let's take another look at that team fight that had unfolded earlier. It looked pretty close here in favor of Immortals for a while after CLG slipped off on the resources, but they all came together with those picks one by one.
Yeah. I mean, it really just comes down to, oh my god, oh no, Jenkins.
It is Dragon Soul. That's why they needed that reset flash. Jenkins goes in, goes golden. Not looking too healthy right now. Vital going deep after Breezy as Luger's trying to peel him off. The front line in shambles for CLG, but Luger finally takes down Vital. Curtain call opens up. Luger going to block that fourth shot. Arrow not even going to land it. Triple backing out. Immortals taking this tooth and nail top for top as CLG get positioned in the mid.
Yeah, it really is a game that is neck and neck over and over between these two teams, right? You're seeing every single team fight matters, the way that they play, and this is what we're used to seeing from Academy, right? It's not necessarily the clean dominance that we saw from Team Liquid. It is a little bit more messy as players try and figure out how they can get to the objectives at the right time. Whether or not they need to get their backs in all the time isn't always clear, because Immortals, the fact that they were able to pick up the Hextech Soul in exchange for the Baron, they're absolutely fine with that, right? They have Joey continuing to scale up. They have Pretty, who will continue being a threat for the rest of the game. And Vital will start winning duels against Jenkins at some point, right? He has to start winning them in order to create a little bit more space. But now that we have no objectives, we have to see how much CLG is going to be doing with this Baron. They haven't necessarily had a whole lot. Immortals got almost nothing done with their Baron, but now that's on the other foot. CLG are trying to push up as a team.
It's tricky for them because they don't have the lane states exactly where they want them to get a good Baron-empowered push going. You have Triple in the bottom lane who's trying to set that up right now, as well as the rest of CLG kind of rotating between this mid and bot lane. Pretty might not know right here. Waiting for that charm to come out. Would be a double distortion out Pretty. But now Triple getting burnt away as over the wall. True shot barrage coming out from Luger. Just trying to get that over the wall poke. One more charge for the Spirit Rush. Make sure that CLG are going to be safe as they rotate in the jungle of Immortals.
Yeah. I mean, the players I have eyes on right now. You have Jenkins, who we already set up as a really good team fighter. You have Luger, who is the star of CLG as the AD carry. Oh, as Arrow opens up the ultimate, we have to pay attention to Chad and Pretty, because they're the ones who have to actually deal with the Luger threat. There's not a whole lot of easy way for everybody else to do it. Arrow and Joey can't do it. Vital can try, but as the rookie, he's not necessarily the main character of our story most of the time. It really is going to be on Chad and Pretty to actually try and get to Luger, because look at the amount of damage he puts out.
That was a surprising amount of damage. Half health off of one ultimate. Now the siege coming out. Baron empowered. Pretty's over the wall. Couple more autos onto this tower. It is going to go down. Response not fast enough. Rosethorn with the flagging strike onto Pretty. Gets caught by the ethereal chains and destroyed by Vital as the ultimate comes out from Joey. And a press the gas pedal straight down through the floor. They will take down Rosethorn. They will take down Triple, and they are not done. Arrow on the chase. So is Joey. Waiting to get that root. Tries to throw it out. Here comes Jenkins on the flank. Goes after Arrow. Unable to take down Arrow. And Joey falls as well. CLG with the counter engage. Pretty and Chad on the wings, but Luger so low. Breezy half health, but CLG are able to keep it together.
In a 3v4, Luger and Jenkins are standing tall. They're ready to turn things around, and it was looking dire, right? The fact that Vital stepped up, he found the ultimate onto two people. He caught Triple and Rosethorn, just meant that it looked so good for Immortals. You take a look at the replay, look to see once again just how much damage Luger's actually able to put out through this whole process. Right? Rosethorn, he actually starts us off, and this is a little troll, not gonna lie, right? He goes in and he just puts himself in a spot where he's never getting out of that alive, and he baits Triple in to actually try and get something done. Luger and Breezy have to run, but they do so much damage. As long as they aren't actively hitting, CLG have a fantastic opportunity for Luger to just half-health people like Joey with one or two auto tech. When you actually get in, they are able to focus down both marksmen and create enough of a front line that Luger and Breezy can play back.
This is so tough. We're 33 minutes into this, even on kills. Only a 4K lead for CLG, which, let's face it, 33 minutes, it doesn't mean that much in the grand scheme of things because we are getting into the late stages of this game. And it's starting to look better as you were talking about some of the scaling. You already have the Dragon Soul, the Senna, really popping off pretty, being that menace that led to Rosethorn dying earlier. See, they're trying to respond to it, trying to set up these lane states of CLG, and it's really the best thing they can do until we get that Baron and Elder Drake up.
Yeah, and now that Vital has kind of shown that he can kind of step up in these moments, we have to start paying a little bit more attention to the way that he's actually playing. It was Chad and Pretty, but now Vital is added. I still think it's mostly Jenkins and Luger coming out for CLG who will have to make some of these big plays, so pay a lot of attention to the way that Luger is going to be positioned. He's completed another item. He's on 4 completed items on this Ezreal. He's going to be pumping out the DPS, and for every moment that Immortals isn't actively fighting, they're falling slightly behind to all of the poke that Luger's going to be able to put out.
Elder Drake's up in 40 seconds, Baron up in 20.
Yeah, we're flipping.
Seems that CLG are kind of prioritizing this bot side.
Yeah, I mean, it's the right call. You can win the game with an Elder Dragon. It's not necessarily the easiest thing in the world to win with a Baron when there are still so many turrets on the table. So, CLG can choose to exchange the Baron for the Elder Dragon. They'll do it every time, but Jenkins...
Ooh, Jenkins, I don't know about that one. You can tell Immortals are hesitant, though. They think there is a group behind Jenkins. They didn't commit to the collapse. Here comes the ultimate coming out of Vital. Looks for the knockabait. Will take down Jenkins. Pretty will grab that kill. Curtain Call opened up, looking for another. Gets onto Rosethorn. Not going to take him down, though, as he eats a couple of those fruits. Losing Jenkins. Now CLG down a man. And neutral objectives are up, Josh.
That is absolutely huge. Jenkins going over the wall a little bit wild. Hextech Gauge means that Immortals are already here, and as you said, it's a 5v4, but they're missing their Engage ultimates. They don't have Chad's Cyclone, they don't have Vital's ultimate, and as CLG lines up, it's not impossible for them to try and do this.
Stealing away resources from CLG. Rosethorn sees
Triple.
an opportunity, comes in with the flag and drag off of Triple's charm. There's the Cataclysm onto Joey, but look at Pretty. He's on the flank.
Luger,
He sees Luger.
him.
He dumps on the Luger. The chains are put down, and Luger is locked up. Pretty destroying the bot lane, destroying the back, destroying everything of CLG as Triple gets a double, but Pretty puts it down.
Okay, that's going to be the Elder Dragon going over. Jenkins' mistake is costing the rest of CLG. The Elder Dragon is going to be going over here to Immortals, and they can use it. They can change that into whatever they want. That can be the Baron. They can try and find even more off this, but as we take a look at the 4v5 that just took place, there's only one thing that we got to pay attention to, and it's the way that Luger moves around and puts himself in a perfect spot for Brady to try and pick him up.
Man, Pretty on that flank. Take a look at how long this route is. Just an easy distortion over the wall, but with no vision there, it goes completely unnoticed.
Yeah, with how far forward Rosethorn is around, Pretty is just kind of chilling over here, and Luger is focused on the other side of the fight, but when he comes back and hops over the wall, he wasn't ready. Pretty, with so much patience, is able to finally find the target he's been looking for every single time. He's hopped on Luger 4 or 5 times at this point, and I think that's the first time he actually finds the kill, finds the killing spree, finds a couple more kills, and Pretty, the player who we said wasn't necessarily the best laner, the player who we were expecting to play some kind of utility champions, is now putting out the DPS. And as they start to pick up the Baron with the Elder Dragon, there's not an opportunity here for CLG to contest. They want to get their waves pushed as far forward as possible, trying to waste as much time from the double buffs of Immortals.
Yeah, CLG push forward, coming in the bot lane, coming in the mid lane. But they can't continue with it. They are going to have to respond to the sieges. As you said, this is just to delay and try and run out those timers, especially on the first Elder Drake. Nice to run that down. Now the recall's coming in for CLG as they try and defend the siege. Defend against the siege that's coming out from Immortals over on this top side. It's going to take a lot more than a true shot barrage, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to build base, it's another thing entirely to defend it. So as Immortals start to move forward, it's hard to clear out these waves, but they're doing a pretty decent job. All said and done. There's only about 50 seconds left of this Elder, but that's plenty of time for Pretty to take down Jenkins if he can catch him.
Ooh, doesn't get the chain, but with plenty of distortion procs, doesn't even want to go for it. Just needs to clear out the wave before the turret goes down. Sadly, a little bit too late on that distortion. Jenkins able to claim that tower in the name of CLG over in the bot lane, while the rest of CLG trying to defend a siege of Immortals.
They're going to try and push forward, but that turret going down is actually kind of tough, right? Because it makes the minions in the bottom lane do more damage for CLG. They will push forward. Vital, trying to find something, and it feels like both teams are playing such a touch-and-go game. Neither one willing to go in, and only 15 seconds left on the Elder Dragon. It's going to disappear in a couple of moments.
Shot barrage landing onto nothing. Immortals are around here, and finally split up. Over the wall
Elder's
comes
gone.
Triple, goes after Joey. Joey's running low, and now Elder is down. This might be the fight opportunity coming out from CLG, but they're not willing to fully commit to it. Recall comes out from Joey. He will escape A-OK. CLG, they're going to go after Vital here. Or is Vital going to go after them as he tries to challenge Jenkins? Over on the bot side, the rest of Immortals still pushing in for this siege in the bot lane.
Yeah, tension's so thick. You can cut it with a knife. Pretty going over the wall.
Ooh, current call open up siege beginning from Immortals. A couple more shots will put it down off of this Baron empowered siege. Pretty next to Rosethorn and Jenkins, deep in the jungle of CLG. The siege is becoming insurmountable out of Immortals. As we've passed this 35-minute mark, it's just been Immortals taking pretty much everything from CLG. Now they're starting to siege into the mid lane. CLG need a response. They need to do it fast. Jenkins starts to go in, and now here comes the team by going after Vital. Vital able to slip on out, but there is Triple going golden. Slides out with the Spirit Rush in time. CLG cannot get the counter engage.
And again, it's going to be another opportunity for the double buffs to spawn. Elder is going to be spawning in 2 minutes, but with the Baron running out now, Immortals, they have a lead. They have a big gold lead. They have the Hextech Soul, but not able to actually close out the game. As Bounty spawn, we're going to take a look at how much the gold lead is, right? Luger still about 3,000 gold over Arrow. The top laners are very even, but I feel like the big difference is actually potentially going to be Joey. Right? He's somebody that we haven't necessarily been talking about so much on the Senna, but he's got so many souls. He's at 119. One more gets him his 6th range upgrade on the patch, on the game. And when he's got this much range, he's going to be doing so much damage.
And he's going to need it as we get into the late stages here. A burst of damage onto Breezy. My goodness. He barely stays alive. Losing him 41 minutes. This is where the death timers are in the deep stages, Josh. When you're looking at these neutral objective timers, dying anytime around him could be disastrous. Breezy pretty sees him. He's walking in that direction as Immortals are going to cut off the jungle from CLG.
Yeah, we're also at the part of the game where you start running out of inventory space for pink wards, right? Look at the number of control wards that are left in the inventories. There's one for Rosethorn. You have the Vigilant Ward Stone coming up for Joey, so he's still got a couple left, but that's it. Okay, you also got one for Breezy. So there's a couple control wards in the inventories, but that's not a lot of vision to necessarily play with, and everybody else on the side of CLG is running red trinkets except for Luger. That just means that they can clear wards, but they don't have a whole lot of ability to actually establish vision, and suddenly LeBlanc, that Pretty had a fantastic couple of flanks on so far, is going to be even more powerful. We'll see if he can find another flank in order to take down Luger like he did earlier.
6-1-3, you have to imagine he's going to be looking for it. Looking for Jenkins is Vital. Forces the hourglass out of him. He will be okay, but I'm looking at that timer for Elder Drake. Got 30 seconds until it does spawn, and look at the vision coverage just coming out of Immortals. Getting it on every bridge, on every choke point of this Elder Drake. Pretty already got his recall, so he has the reset to be ready for this fight coming up.
Okay. All right, now they're going to be setting up, right? This should be it. This should be the game-ending fight. CLG are in a spot, but look where Vital is. He has no ultimate.
Vital far away, has the teleport, waiting from start to channel. CLG are going to be the ones to leash the Elder. Vital's just continuing to push. Finally, here comes the teleport. Jenkins going after this Elder Drake. All members of CLG around it, and now here it goes. The team fight coming out. There's the Cyclone. They're all together. Chad will knock them all up. No problem. Vital over the wall. We'll be able to grab one. That's going to be Luger going down, and Elder Drake going to Immortals, but they want more than just the Elder. They want the damn game, and they're going to chase Triple to the grave, get the deadly flourish onto Jenkins, and clean up this game number 1 of this best of 2.
Triple kill going over the Arrow. They finally find CLG all caught up in one spot. They take them all down. They're all going to be going down to the Elder Dragon, and Immortals bring in multiple waves at the same time. They're going to be ending the game. We thought this was CLG favored. We prided Jenkins and Luger for their ability to play in LCS, but at the end of the day, it is Vital, Chad, and Bree standing tall, corralling them into the Dragon Pit and taking them down one at a time.
Big win for Immortals when they were already doubted. Doesn't matter, they still come back, and it felt like it was in layers. It felt like we're slowly peeling back an onion here, Josh, because at one moment, at the very beginning, you have Pretty, who is the dominating one, Chad, who slowly comes back and actually had a very strong performance starting off, and then starts to come back after some shenanigans coming up from Rosethorn. And of course, in the late game, Vital, who struggled in the early game, looks phenomenal in the late stages.
Yeah, his ability to actually navigate the Yone throughout the early game and keep himself alive going up against Jenkins over and over allowed him to be much more impactful. It felt like he slowly built up his confidence as the game continued to go longer and longer. And when you're able to take these late game team fights as Yone, when you just land that ultimate and then you get a ton of damage across the entire team, he's able to step up, and finding that extra carry, I think, might have been the difference maker coming in here for Immortals. They were able to do a little bit more. They had a little bit more control over the game, and it really comes down to that top side core that we just saw. So congratulations to them on their first win here in Academy. Congratulations to Vital on this first ever Academy win.
That completely slipped my mind right there. Vital, his first showing in Academy, is able to get a win in his first game. So Immortals starting off the season right, but they are not done. We have a series. We are going to be right back, and Sierra will be here to rejoin us. So be sure to stay tuned.